The whole building is pretty empty right now also. It's like the break, so. Yeah, good evening, everyone. So this is going to be a little bit of a different format because we're on Zoom. I imagine those who are weekly Zoomers will appreciate this a little bit more because it'll be like more direct. Um, so I see Deborah, Elazar, Barbara, my dad, Yuri, Alex, Janet, and Mike in the back there. Steve, uh, Mark, and the Chinskys. Okay, both of you there. Great. Yofi. So let's get going. We have a good amount of. We just actually see. Okay, we're recording. We have some really good stuff to go through today. Clem just joined. We are. Sorry. We are on page. We're going back a little bit to page 47, to Mishnah 47. So that would be page. Let me just make this video here.
147.
147. Yeah, 147. All right, we started this last week, but I want to kind of like dig into this a little bit more. Okay. So this Mishnah says, Rabbi Tzadok said, "Do not make them a crown for self-exaltation, nor a spade with which to dig." So too Hillel used to say, "One that puts." Can you hear me? Okay, by the way, it's a good quality. Okay, good. Um, do not. So Hillel used to say, "One that puts the crown to their use shall perish." Thus you have learned anyone who derives benefit from the words of Torah removes their life from the world. So, how would you sum up the central theme here? Should I broadcast it again, or you have it in front of you? I'll broadcast. What's the central theme of this Mishnah? What's it trying to tell us? Hmm.
I think that is what it's trying to say is don't honor yourself in Torah learning, honor the Torah.
Yeah, don't make you wrong usage of the Torah, right? Don't use it for honor. It also says don't use it nor a spade with which to dig. That means that like you shouldn't use it in order to make a livelihood. Many of the rabbis that is their livelihood today. So there's what to talk about there, but you shouldn't be doing it for that reason. Like you're doing it because you want to help and you get paid too. Okay, but like obviously you it's a good if someone's a rabbi because of the money, they're in the wrong profession. Meaning there is good money, but I'm saying if they're doing it for that reason, then that's the wrong thing. If they're going in the rabbit, like I could become a lawyer, I could be a doctor, I become a rabbi. There's good money there. They're not that's wrong. Like you need to have really love and passion for people and Torah and all those components um, to be a good rabbi. So any good rabbi is not doing it solely for that reason. That's a spade with which to dig. The Rambam, Maimonides, goes further in saying that no, rabbis should not work at all. Rabbis shouldn't make money from their teaching at all. They should have another profession. He was very strict on that, but not everybody followed. Obviously, the world did not follow his path when it comes to that. Uh, but so anyone who derives benefit from the words of Torah removes their life from the world. So it's very strict. It's very tough. I want to offer a little bit of a different interpretation to this. And we kind of talked about this last week with Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai, if you remember. Basically, the way I wanted to read these final words here was like this. I talked about this in the book. It says here, Kol haneeneh midivrei Torah notel chayav min haolam. Anyone who benefits from Torah learning, they remove their life from the world. It seems to be a bad thing, like a negative thing. But you can read this in a positive way. Anybody who really enjoys Torah, they've disconnected themselves from all kinds of ulterior motives for learning. If you can get to the place that you love Torah so much, that you connect to it so much, that you'll be doing it because of that enjoyment, then you were no tel chayab in olam. Then you've removed yourself from the world. You've elevated yourself above all those worldly reasons why you wanted to to connect to the Torah. So really, you could do it for honor, you could do it for money, but if you really, really love Torah, you'll do it for that reason because you want to learn the Torah. And so I think it's a little bit of a creative way to read the Mishnah. You get like how I'm like really reading it like a subversive way a little bit. It really means anybody who enjoys Torah, they're that's bad because they're benefiting from it. But I'm explaining it differently. Nehene is not that you're using it for your needs, rather you're enjoying it. If you're enjoying it, the reaction is the result is notel chayam elav. You moved your life from the world, not as a punishment, as a positive thing. You've elevated yourself above the worldly things. So I talk about that in this text here. It says this is the Sukkot Rebbe. It's a classic text that's quoted in the yeshivas I was in, at least. He says, the more one enjoys learning, the more optimal it is. In his words, this is the essence of the mitzvah of learning Torah, to be able to rejoice, delight, and enjoy in his learning. And then the words of Torah are absorbed into your blood. The more you enjoy Torah, the more it will become part of you. The more the learning will be relevant for you, the more it will be, you'll be able to process it better. Yes, that's kind of how I read this out of context a little bit. I said something here. Our Mishnah speaks about the need to, it says like earlier in the Mishnah, we hear about when you use the Torah as a crown or a spade for digging. I like to bring attention to the reason why these specific examples were chosen. A crown is used on the top of one's body, while a spade is used near the bottom of one's feet, like a shovel, like a tool. So maybe it's saying a full spectrum of secondary reasons from head to toe. And if you really love Torah, you're able to overcome all those secondary reasons because the Torah itself is what's drawing you in. That's kind of how I'm reading it. So here's a question I can pose to you. How do we come? What do you think? You can unmute yourselves. It's Zoom, everybody. It's a little bit easier to hear everybody. Welcome, everybody who just joined. Maureen, Lewis. Um, so we're talking about loving Torah and enjoying Torah learning. And we're explaining the mission of that this mission that we kind of went started last week that way. And then I posed a question like, how do we come to really love learning Torah? What do you think? Dad, what do you think? You can unmute yourself. Dad, you want to try to answer this one? Well, he wants to try, I guess. Not succeeding there. All right. Somebody else want to try in the meanwhile?
I think you have to have good teachers, and that sort of leads you along the path, and that helps you learn to enjoy the Torah. But you have to have somebody who explains things to you.
Good teachers. Okay,
Yeah.
what else? What else can lead to loving the Torah? To like loving, enjoying the Torah, like enjoying and benefiting from it.
And if you have a chavurah, if you have somebody that you study with, that's always very helpful.
Okay, great.
Self-motivation.
What's it's shmaraya, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you say?
Self-motivation.
Self-motivation. You have to push yourself. Yeah.
Like every day we have lots of challenges, so I have to make a time for learning Torah.
Yeah. What else? Dad.
Also, picking up a good rabbi to study with, like we just did.
Nice. Well, Anne said that. You get extra points for that.
That's a plug for you.
Um, okay, anybody else have any other ones? Like
I
what do
think
we want to
I think you have to believe in it first.
you have
That
to believe in it,
what
strengthen.
it's teaching you is something that like when you learn it and then you go out into the world and you do the things that it's teaching you and you understand that it's right, then you want to learn more.
So the more you understand, the more you connect to it intellectually, the easier and the more you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Anybody else have any other? All All right, so I wrote a few down for myself here that have been helpful for me. Um, I want to share with you 1 second. Let's find them. So last week we spoke about Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. I'm not going to go so deep into that, but there's one way to learn Torah to really come to benefit and enjoy it is through negation, through overcoming your physicality. And I was going to explain that last week as the Beit Shammai approach, but let's leave that for now. But one way is like sometimes we get very comfortable physically, like we're um, learn if you want to succeed in learning Torah, you want to become a Torah scholar, or if you want to really expand your Torah knowledge, you have to sacrifice. That's just the name of the game. I mean, um, I was listening recently to a lecture by Rav David Yosef, the Sephardic chief rabbi of Israel, and he was sharing how he spent many, 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 many late nights with his father of blessed memory, Rav Ovadia Yosef, who was one of the greatest rabbis in the previous generation. They stayed up every night till 2 o'clock. And he said that Rav Ovadia Yosef was, they would get back from a wedding or from an event and they go into learning 10 o'clock at night. Not everybody can do that. You have to get the amount of sleep that we need, etc. But they were able to do that. And I imagine they were tired. They pushed themselves extra hard to be able to kind of learn as much as they could so they become great scholars. He told me that, and he didn't tell me. In his stories that he told, he said that Rav Ovadia Yosef would only like around 2 o'clock take a break with him because he was his son, and like he would just like they would get a cup of tea, and that's when he got a lot of really good stories out of Rav Ovadia Yosef, like at 2 o'clock at night. Let's bring in that example as like the amount of effort you have to put in is tremendous to really break out of our physical nature and really break in to the holiness of the Torah. I can just share like there's some late nights where like I really don't feel like learning and I don't let's say I don't have a class or whatever that I'm teaching and I literally have to force I'll have to sit down like just force myself like just sit down and just like move my body if my body's really tired it's to move it and like get a cup of tea or something like that I can like keep going keep pushing myself and the more you get into Torah the more it'll become more familiar with you and the more you'll enjoy learning it. But you can only do that through sacrifice, through overcoming, through like stepping outside of our comfort zone, out of the things that we naturally enjoy, and taking on the Torah as like as a mission, as a project. So that's one way to come to love the Torah. But there's other ways as well that are more positive. One way is to find things that you like in the Torah. Okay, so we all have to know something about everything. Like we really should know a little bit about Kabbalah, a little bit about halacha, Jewish law, a little bit about Jewish ethics, but everybody has that thing that they really like. I don't know. I think Mike, what do you like?
Tanya, Kabbalah, mysticism,
Okay,
Hasidus.
so those are the things that Mike likes. So you would we have to lean into those things and find, I guess, study partners or ways to learn them. When you find the things that you really like, you stay connected. So it's worth thinking about like what are Torah areas that you like. I shared this before. I know for myself, I liked learning Talmud. I also liked learning Jewish philosophy. And I didn't allow myself for a long time to learn Jewish philosophy the way I wanted because it was not like the standard cookie cutter yeshiva way. You're really supposed to just like learn Talmud almost all the day. But when I started reading some teachings of Rav Kook, I talked to some rabbis, I was encouraged to like lean into those things that I really like, and I was able to really grow. And so it's like thinking what you like, what do you really like, and then like leaning into it. Other ways to come to love Torah. Here's just another way. You can bribe yourself. I know it sounds funny, but like I allow people to bribe me to learn Torah for a while. Like I used to go when I moved at a certain point I moved to Rehavia in Jerusalem and I was working on my doctorate at the time and I wanted to make sure I was still like keeping up with my learning and stuff. My doctor was in Torah, but still. So like I would walk to the old city on Thursday nights because they had like good food there, and I'd know that the food was going to be there. But then I learned there late at night, like 10, 11, 12 at night in the old city of Jerusalem every Thursday night because I was kind of like bribing myself to go learn. And you can do that. Like you can reward yourself for small successes, like taking on certain projects, certain books you want to learn, and then like saying, okay, I give myself a special treat after that, or something like that, or kind of rewarding yourself as you make progress. That can also be helpful to connecting to Torah and like coming to love it. So there's a few ways to come to love Torah. Anybody have any more that they could think of, or any thoughts on kind of what I shared?
No, I think it's a monumental effort to be a Jew and to be, a learned Jew. I'm trying to, in terms of this sort of like monumental input, how does it connect with with Mishnah 7? In terms of that's what I
Here,
get what
okay.
you're saying.
Let me put it
Can
together here.
you put it to put it full
Yeah, yeah.
circle? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I was reading this Mishnah like this. Some people learn Torah for a crown. Some people learn it for self-exaltation. Some people learn it, for a crown for self-exaltation. Others learn it for parnasa, for money. But we're really not supposed to learn it for those reasons. If you put the crown to their own, you'll perish. Like you shouldn't learn Torah for those ulterior motives. Okay. Now, why should we learn Torah? We should learn Torah because we love Torah, because we derive pleasure from it. That's how I was reading these words, the final words of it. Anybody who enjoys Torah, they remove themselves from the world. That's usually understood as a negative thing, but I was reinterpreting it. So anybody who really benefits and enjoys Torah, they've elevated themselves above all these ways of the world, all these secondary reasons for performing the Torah. So that's how I'm reading it. Like you have all these ways of people from the head to toe, from the crown to the digging, from the top to the bottom to the spade at your feet. We can do Torah for all those reasons, but the Mishnah may be saying, hinting to this at least, or the way I'm reading it, is that that's not the optimal way to learn Torah. The optimal way to learn Torah is to be so connected to it that you can't live without it, that you love it so much that you're so disconnected from the world because of it. You're disconnected from the need for gain, for honor, for all these other reasons because you're so linked to the Torah. You love it so much, you benefit from it. So anybody who derives benefit from the words of Torah, they've gotten to the level that they remove themselves from all these secondary reasons. That's kind of how I was reading it. So it's a very high level. Sometimes you have to benefit from the world to get yourself to those levels. But if you can get to the level of really, really being united with Torah, there's no higher level than that. It's like the our texts speak about how God and the Torah are united. It says God, Israel, and the Torah are like one. That's like tonight. Some people are talking about the Trinity. Well, that's like the Jewish Trinity, I would say, right? God, lahavdil, right? The Torah, God, and Am Yisrael. We're all connected. So the more Torah we have inside of us, the more we love it. If you don't love Torah, it's not going to be connected to you. So the more you're connected to it, the more you live it, the more you're passionate about it. I don't know, everybody here has something they're passionate about that they can about for like an hour straight and bore the heck out of their friends and family, right? Everybody has that thing, I think, no? So what if you love the Torah so much that was something that you just had to keep talking about? That's like the highest level. And Torah and Hashem are connected. So if you're living the Torah, that's the word of God, and you're connected to God. So the more we can get to that place, the more we're able to elevate ourselves above the world, and the higher place the higher level we're on, if that makes sense. So yeah, Janet.
When it says that anyone who derives benefit from the words of the Torah removes their life from the world, to me, when I think of that, I think of the yeshiva buchers who are stuck in a yeshiva and never want to leave. They go
Yeah.
there, they love it so much that nothing else matters. They stay in a kollel, they they take a life of, meager existence just so that they can learn. And they do remove themselves pretty much from the world. They're in their own little world of
Yeah.
their own.
So I'm admitting that I'm reading that a little out of context because the literal reading is like it's bad to benefit from the Torah, but not benefit enjoying it, but to like to do it for ulterior motives. But I'm reading a little out of context and saying that you've elevated yourself above the world. So that's kind of what you're saying. The Torah is not just knowledge. That's the thing that's different between Torah and like secular knowledge. Torah is the living word of God. So the more we have Torah inside of us, the more we're living God, the more we are connected to God. It's not the only way to connect to God, obviously. There's prayer, there's mitzvot, but that paradigm of like Torah, Israel, and God, that Trinity, that trilogy, whatever, that triad, it's quoted a bunch in our texts. And so learning Torah is really not just an intellectual pursuit. It's a mystical or spiritual experience. And so whether you understand the Torah, whether you fully understood a sugya, you can learn Torah for an extended period of time and not understand what you're doing. You've still made that connection because you're involved with the Torah. It's like you're in a dialogue with Hashem. And so it's a worthy pursuit. We make the blessing la suk b'divrei Torah in the morning. La suk means to like be busy in Torah. Even if you don't understand it, but you're just busy in it, there's value in that. So all right, that's a little bit on that. Let's go on to the next Mishnah. So we did this next Mishnah last class. We talked about anyone who honors the Torah, their body will be themselves will be honored by others. So we're going to skip over that. We're going to go to what page 151. Okay, this is a nice Mishnah, and I think I have a good message connected to this Mishnah, a message about leadership. So let me just ask you a question before we get going. Um, what are some challenges of being a leader? Anybody here in leadership roles in their job, and what are some challenges that come with being a leader?
Making the hard decisions that people won't like, but that your evaluation is that it's for the better good.
Yeah, you might end up correct. You might end up being disliked or people being upset with you, but you're doing it for for like the
You hope
greater
you're
good.
not making a mistake.
Yeah, making mistakes. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think that's a fear that, you make tough decisions and sometimes it's not so clear what the right decision is. It's a tough call.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone else have any other? So, speaking as a community leader, being a leader can be a lonely thing. You have to consistently be a little bit ahead of your congregants to guide them to where you feel like they should be. So you're not with them. You know, you're a little bit ahead. You have to make decisions. You have to do things that sometimes make you unpopular, and that's difficult. Um, Also, you can't always act toward others the way they act toward you, right? Like, I can't chase someone down in Kiddush and tell them how bad the Kiddush is. I'm not gonna do that, but people do that with me every weekend. Um, but I mean, I'm just giving you an example. But there's a lot of being a leader is hard. You're consistently giving, and you're not always getting. I mean, you're getting because you know what you're doing is right. But it's not easy. It's a lonely job. It's a it's a it's a very special privilege to be a leader, but it's not. It comes with its difficulties. I think our Mishnah is speaking about that. This Mishnah and the next Mishnah, based on how I'm going to read it, we'll be speaking about some of these challenges of leadership, and and like and based on that, we could discuss how you can overcome those challenges and obstacles. So let's take a look at that. Here's the Mishnah holding our Rabbi Ishmael said, "One who refrains from judgment rids themselves of enmity, robbery, and false swearing. But one whose heart is presumptuous in giving a judicial decision is foolish, wicked, and arrogant." Okay, so the simple reading of this is that it's speaking about a judge. A judge, it's preferable if the judge or the litigants, either one, can get to a place where they don't go to court, that's preferable. They can have arbitration, they can get to some sort of agreement among themselves, that's preferable. The Mishnah tells us why. For instance, if a judge takes on a case, this is similar to what Ann was saying, um, that a judge takes on a case, they may make mistakes. They may make the wrong ruling, and in the end, lead to robbery, meaning they make the wrong call. They may make someone lose the money that they really deserved. And so the sages said, even though it's always better for judges to judge with other judges to judge with other to sorry for judges to try to solve the case outside of court. It's better that litigants try to do that as well. If you need to get to court, you go to court. But if you can find some sort of way that you can agree on among yourselves, that removes enmity, hatred among people, or it removes enmity toward the judge. If the judge is able to remove themselves from not go to court, then they end up remaining, I guess, in good graces among the one that they were going to, in the end, rule against. Similarly, false swearing. If you remove, if you don't, um, if you don't go to court, you will protect the litigants from swearing falsely. So it's suggested to try to find a way to solve it outside of court. That's a simple reading of the text. And then it says here to somebody who's a judge, um, if you're don't be presumptuous, don't rush to judge because that's foolish, wicked, and arrogant. Okay, so don't like if you get a case, you finally do take it on. Don't rush in judgment. Be patient. Don't rush because you could definitely make the wrong decision. So be patient. Try to think it through so that you can get to a better, like get to the right answers. So that's a simple reading of this. But I want to read it a little bit differently. You see how everybody's doing. Okay. How's everyone doing? Good? All right. So here, I want to read it a little bit differently. I want to say like this. It's not talking about a judge per se. It's talking about a leader. Okay. And so it could be saying something like this. Um, Someone who rids themselves from judgment of being judging the community, being in charge of them. If you step aside from being a leader, you've protected yourself from many things. Like if you don't take on the leadership role, you spared yourself a lot of sorrows, right? You spared yourself people disliking you. You spared yourself robbery. You spared yourself false swearing. I would interpret them like this. Number one, the second you step into an authority position, you're already positioning yourself to make people unhappy. That's just the nature of it. And so if you remove yourself from judgment, it's not saying you should. The way I'm reading is like, I'm not saying it should. It's saying what comes with leadership. What comes with leadership is enmity, robbery, and false swearing. Enmity meaning people will dislike you. Robbery, it could be that people are trying to consistently steal the way you think, try to rob your time or rob your mind, try to force you to do what they want you to do, even if you know what's right for the group. Similarly, false swearing, people could literally just be lying to you. You're at because they want to shift your mind a certain way, meaning it's dirty. Being a politician, being a leader is dirty. It's not clean. It's dirty. It's hard, and it comes with a lot of negative things. So if you just remove yourself from judgment, from being a leader, you'll spare yourself of all of that. Obviously, we shouldn't do that though. It's just I think it's warning us of what comes with leadership. Now, it doesn't tell us what the solution is. what the solution to all those things are. So we talked a little bit about, I mentioned when I was speaking to you about like ways that you could, um, I mentioned earlier like that we should think about ways that you can step up to these challenges and overcome these obstacles. So some ways to do it is, as a leader, you need to have somebody that you can talk to. Right? As a leader, you have to have somebody who understands you, somebody who you can talk to, who you know you feel safe with. Another thing that can help with leadership and success with leadership could be, one second. You also need to have a mission, right? So this was mentioned earlier. If you have a mission, you know you're doing the right thing for the right reason, even though people don't like you, or people are upset with you, or they may be lying to you, or they may be all this stuff's happening. Um, you know you're doing the right thing for the right reasons, and so those components can help push you through, despite the difficulties of leadership. Um, I wrote down another one here. Also, the satisfaction of seeing positive results. When you see the good that you're doing, even if some people are not happy, you see the positive results, that can help push you through as well. So this mission doesn't really fill in the blanks based on how I'm explaining it, but I think we can do that, like kind of explain. But it's basically saying make a statement that Rav Avi Weiss kind of shared with us when we were in yeshiva. I was looking through his book. He wrote this book called Spiritual Activism, kind of coming up backwards here, but um, he gave us some classes on spiritual activism, Rabbi Avi Weiss, and he said that being a leader is a lonely thing. We should be ready for that. But it's very rewarding because we can bring people to amazing heights, to great places. So I think the mission is kind of warning us about some of those difficulties of leadership. And I think it goes on to talk about it here in continuation. It says, one whose heart is presumptuous in giving a judicial decision is foolish, wicked, and arrogant. If you read the Hebrew says gas libo. Gas means coarse. So a leader could come to a place where they're so frustrated because all these things that they become coarse. They become flippant. They become angry. They become upset. They become resentful. That's the Mishnah saying that's stupid. That's foolish. That's wicked and that's arrogant. You'll end up being arrogant to your congregants, to the people you're leading. You'll be wicked. You'll be mean. It's just foolish. So a judge, a leader has to come to a place where they accept that these negative things are there, but don't let it make your heart gas. Don't let it make your heart coarse. Stay sensitive. Stay kind. Stay locked into the real mission of what you're doing, the purpose, so that you're there, that you can really help people. If you allow those things to sway you, you're not going to be successful in hora'ah, which is leadership or teaching. Okay, so I think that's a way to connect all the pieces here. The first part speaks about somebody who gets involved with leadership. If they're involved in all these negative things, if you remove yourself from leadership, you're removed from these things. We don't want to do that. We want to be involved in leadership. So know that it's going to come with that. And while you're doing that, be careful not to ghastly both. Don't have your heart become so coarse due to it that you can't properly do your job. So you need to find those outlets. You need to find times to yourself. You need to find people you can speak to, leaders and rabbis and priests. They all have their own therapists to talk to. You need the people you can talk to. You need to believe in your mission. All those things can push you through and know you're doing the right thing, even though it's difficult at times. But know that and don't let it make your heart coarse. If you see you're getting to a place where your heart's coarse, and you can't lead like that. You know, it's interesting. The Torah speaks about Moshe Rabbeinu and Yehoshua. At a certain point, it was time for Moshe Rabbeinu to step aside. And many commentators say it's because he was dealing a little bit too harshly with the nation. He hit the rock out of frustration, according to Maimonides. He was upset. If you find yourself as a leader getting to that place consistently, you're doing it the wrong way. Either you're not connected enough to your mission, or you're not having your proper outlets, or you're not setting proper boundaries. You need to figure out leadership is a great privilege and a great opportunity and a great, just amazing thing. But there comes with guidelines on how to do it. If you do it the right way, you can, despite all the difficulties, really bring good things and stay sensitive and caring. So it's really finding the balance that can enable you to be the proper leader. So, anybody have any thoughts on that or? reflection. Does that make sense how I read that, Mishnah? Yeah.
I think some leaders kind of lose their way and become very arrogant and don't want to take advice from anybody else. And that's a real danger.
Yeah, I was actually not fully speaking about that, but that's totally right as well. You can read it that way as well. You can say ghastly bow could just mean that you're 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 like arrogant or like your heart is like swelled. So if you lead in that way, that's bad. So on one hand, you have to be careful of threats from the outside that can affect your leadership. All these things around you, that could be the first part. The second part could be threats from the inside, which could be an arrogant heart that could lead you to when you get power, that you abuse your power. So leadership, you can, I mean, it's amazing. At Beth Tefillah, I can speak at one outing and impact the lives of like a few hundred people. It's just amazing. And then they send out the sermons. Those more people read them. The influence and the ability to really touch neshamas is such a beautiful thing of leadership. It's such a privilege to be able to do it. And it all comes with work, trying to figuring out how to do it in a balanced way. Everybody, I mean, everybody's a leader in some capacity, one way or another. We're parents, at job, we're grandparents. You know, we are all leaders in some capacity. And it's figuring out like how we can be most impactful while staying healthy as we're doing it. And it's really like it's really like a challenge. It's a challenge. So I think that Mishnah could be
Is
right.
this also, I mean, I don't want to be reductionistic about it, but is it also saying, at least with the words judging, like in sort of modern parlance, don't be judgmental? I mean, a leader has to judge, but don't be judgy. It's like my kids say that, oh, you're so judgy.
Yeah. Um, you could read it that way. Doesn't speak about, it says, "Chosech Asmo," when you remove yourself from judgment. I mean, you could read it that way. I heard somebody read it. I read that somebody read it that way. They basically said if you remove yourself from being judgy, then you've protected yourself from enmity, robbery, and false oaths. Meaning, if you are dealing with everybody in kindness, people will deal with kindness in you. If you're always picking a fight and you're being judgy, people will respond to you that way as well. Everybody knows that person, and many times we're that person. Even if we wake up on the wrong side of the bed or something, I don't know, you're just too judgy. You're just you have a negative spin on things, and then people around you they start reflecting that negativity back to you. So that could also
But
be.
here is more really for leaders, though, right? I mean, when you sort of
I'm
read
reading
this
it
in a,
that way. I'm reading that it's speaking
yeah,
about leadership. I'm going to read the next Mishnah as a continuation of this Mishnah, speaking about being judgy. So we'll take a look at that as well. Um, I don't know if I answered you properly. Did I? Did I answer you properly, Mark? Or
yes, yes,
all right, cool.
yes. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So let's do another Mishnah, unless anybody has something else to share on that. It's a little bit different doing this in on Zoom. It's like you just sit here and you're like waiting for somebody to talk. In person, it's like so different. All right. All right. So let's do another Mishnah. Again, those two readings, 4:7, which is benefiting from Torah, that's my original interpretation. Like it's not a simple reading of it either. It's like a creative reading of it. And also this Mishnah, reading it as leadership and reading it as the struggles of leadership, and then the second part as like how you could end up leading in the wrong way as a result of that. That's also like kind of my interpretation to that. So it's just a new way to read it. Um, okay. In my book, I actually spoke a little bit something a little bit different there. I said that I spoke about like I wrote this part. This was during COVID, and there was a lot of like unrest around police about policing and people wanted to defund the police. And I wrote this as a response to that in some ways, basically saying like police. I was saying basically, let's say you take out judgment here, and you put police in here, right? So policing leads to enmity, robbery, and false swearing. People like being a officer is not easy. Police face the inevitable fate of being hated by a large swath of the community. Cops make mistakes. Some are due to foolishness, wickedness, and arrogance. This needs to be called out. Other times, however, is due to them being human, as you mentioned in relation to the judge and the robbery and false oaths, which may ensue from their decisions. So sometimes police make mistakes. Sometimes they also do wrong things. Like I was basically saying here that we should hold them accountable when they're acting foolish, evil, or arrogant. That's the second part of the Mishnah. Oh, we must also recognize that many are trying their best and under constant pressure from many directions. Like, not everything bad that a policeman person does comes from a bad place. I know this is like a novel, like I'm saying, it's like I'm saying a novel thing here. I'm not. It's just like some people hate the police so much that everything they do, they view as being run by racism or some other type of motive. Police people do things out of foolishness and wickedness. That's true. And they do things that they're sometimes just mistakes. And they're not perfect. They may make the wrong judgment at times. So when you see a police officer doing something wrong, we need to have sensitivity to it. Sometimes it's could be coming from something wrong, or it could just be coming from the fact that they made a mistake. And we need to be forgiving and recognize that all the good I think that the police can bring to us, bring to our society. So I felt like things were getting a little unbalanced in the societal discussion at the time. It says here, Rabbi Hanina taught us, pray for the welfare of the government. For not for the fear it inspires, every person will swallow their neighbor alive. Let's pray for law enforcers that they will not judge presumptuously, but instead improve the quality of life, ensuring daily that our community members won't swallow each other alive. So policemen sometimes can make mistakes. Sometimes they can do things foolishly too. We need to know that not everything they do is coming from a bad place. So that's kind of what. And there's many things they do that come from a good place. There's so many good things that police officers do. So that's kind of like I was using that to explain that. Okay, so this is a great Mishnah. This Mishnah, let's read. So I have a volunteer reader. Let's get a new voice in here. Anybody want to read this? You could just call out if you want to read it. Don't be shy. I might have to volunteer somebody. I see Janet
Okay,
smiling.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Okay. Um, I can't read the Hebrew though, but I can read the
Okay.
rest. He used to say, "Do not judge alone, for none may judge alone except for one. And do not say, accept my view, for they are free, but not you."
It rhymes, huh? And do not say, accept my view, for they are free, but not you. All right. That's not the original Hebrew, obviously.
Yeah,
So
I don't get that.
it's a little bit of a cryptic Mishnah, right? It's not clear what's going on here. What do you say? What do you think the first sentence means? Anybody want to offer a thought on that? Do not judge alone, for none may judge alone except for one. Who's the one?
Hashem.
God,
Hashem. So what is it saying? Don't judge alone. You can take a look here. Here it says here. In Jewish law, it's generally forbidden to judge a case without companions. You see all these shows on TV or in courts today, there's a single judge who's judging a case. That is discouraged and really not allowed unless you have a Dayan Mumche with judge with expertise. They're allowed to, but they're also discouraged because only God can be the sole judge. Like you need other voices involved in Three judges is usually what is the format for a lot of the cases. Jeff, I see you unmuted. Do you want to share something?
I
Marianne?
think it's implicit in do not judge alone, that if a judgment of some sort is needed, there clearly is more than one perspective or,
Yeah,
on what's being discussed. And so all sides of an issue need to be taken under consideration. And some people have the ability to see multiple sides of an argument, even though they have their own opinion. But most people, it's a lot easier to confer with others.
totally. So that's the simple reading, it seems like. And then they say, and do not say, accept my view, for they are free, but not you. Shehen risha'im velo ata. It's kind of like a little cryptic language, like unclear language. But what it's saying is, do not say, now, once you finally bring in these other judges, okay, I'm not going to judge on my own. I'm going to bring in these other judges. Once you finally brought them in, listen to them. Don't tell them, accept my view. They're free. They're free to share their view, but you're not free to force them to hear your view. That's what it's saying. They are free, but not you. They're free to share their view, but you're not free to force them to hear your view. So it's a valuable teaching here that we need to hear other voices, not just our own voice. You need to hear other voices. That helps us develop our own thought. That helps us complete areas that we're lacking. I wrote about that in the book. We need to hear other voices. So that's like the simple reading of it. There's a few other interpretations on a simple level, but I want to offer a different approach to this completely. There's another unique, like another new reading to this that's I never saw. So I want to read it like this. This could be a continuation of the previous statement, of the previous Mishnah, which is speaking about leadership. And it's saying something like this: as a leader, because this is the same rabbi saying this, Hu Haya Omer. He's saying this. So as a leader, you have to be very careful not to judge people where they are. Al tiyid dan yechidi. Don't play the role of God. When you're leading people, you need to know that you need to judge because you have to figure out how to guide people the right way. But don't fall into being too judgy, as Mark would say. Um, why? Because only God is the true judge. Only God really knows what's going on. And it's saying something, and the next piece could be saying that something else. It could be saying, adding on to this, don't say kablu da'ati, shehen rasha'in v'lo ata. Don't try to force your approach on people who are not ready for it. Like if you're judging somebody and you're seeing they're not where you need them to be, give them their space. Sometimes it's helpful to help people and to guide them. But many times you need to step back and don't enforce your will too hard on people. Don't say kablu dati, right? Um, because don't tell them, and then you might say that. So in this last part, shehen rashein v'lo ata, they're allowed to do that with you, but you're not allowed to do it with them. Meaning, the people you're leading, they may be telling you all the time what you should do. They're allowed to do that, but not you. You're the leader. Don't fall into that. As the leader, you need to rise above that. I think that's what it's saying. Don't judge the people. And if you do end up, and if you end up judging and you say, accept my, don't say to them, kablu dati, don't force them to do your will if it's against their will. Now, you might say, hey, they consistently come to me and tell me what I should do. Well, overcome it. You're the leader. Suck it up. Be, be the parent. Be the adult. It's the same thing with kids. All of us, uh, had experience with kids, students, grandchildren. You have to really, oftentimes you know a lot better than them. And it's true. You really do know better than them. And they make it out like they know better than you. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Okay. So it's saying, allow them that. Don't judge them too harshly. Allow them that space. don't judge them and don't force them to be where you are. They may be doing that to you. They may be upset with you. They may be telling you where you're wrong. You know that you're right and guide them patiently and smartly. And so you can help them get to the place they need to be. I mean, they're allowed to do all that stuff. You're not. That last piece, I didn't see anybody explain it this way. And I think that it stood out to me. The language here is Hen Risha'im velo ata. What does that mean? I think it means they're allowed to do all this stuff, but you as a leader, you as a parent, as a teacher, you can't fall to that level. In order to be a strong leader, you can't go down there. You can't get involved in those feuds, in those quabbles. Is that the word? Quibbles? I don't know. So don't get involved in those in those childish back and forths. Try to rise above it. Henry Shain, they're allowed to, but you're not. Yeah,
Rabbi Yogev, please note that your father was laughing.
yeah. Does this resonate at all about my two sisters? Just joking. Um, yeah. Yeah. So that's a little bit on that mission. Anybody have does that resonate with anybody? The idea of like as a leader, others are allowed to do certain things, but you're not allowed to do. Yeah, as a
The
parent.
fact of the matter is, as a leader, you have to behave above and in a different way than the people that you're leading. You have to be able to synthesize views. You have to be able to see different points of view.
Yeah. Mark, you were going to say something?
I was, yeah, I mean, this is a very small slice of being a judge because what I was thinking is why doesn't it say, oh, like you should judge only on the merits?
What do you mean?
Why does it omit that concept, or that's like
What
in
do you
another
mean?
mission or somewhere?
What do you mean?
Well, when you're a judge, you and I've never been a judge, but when you're a judge, you should only judge on the merits of something, right? And
Yeah,
not
here it's just saying what you shouldn't do, right?
having any biases about anything else. You should be objective, neutral. Uh,
Yeah, here it's not necessarily saying that in these Mishnahs.
okay,
But yeah,
that's another mission someday.
I imagine, yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Here it's also not telling you what you should do, it's telling you what you shouldn't do. It's you only get a little bit out of each Mishnah. You can't get the whole.
right.
I mean, this idea of don't be Dan Yechidi, I think that speaks to that a little bit. Like, judge, don't judge alone. The literal reading is don't judge without other judges. But it could also be don't make yourself like you're the ultimate judge. God's the ultimate judge. And so meaning I think it's trying to say, it's like, don't think that um, I don't know if it's speaking exactly what you're saying. It could be saying something different, but it's basically saying like, don't judge the wrong way. Don't think that you know everything like you're the ultimate judge. It's not exactly saying what you're saying, but it is saying judge the right way. Like judge
Yeah,
in
it's another
humility.
space. Right.
Yeah. All right. We finished three Mishnahs, 756. Maybe we'll take a look at the next mission, then we'll do it next week, okay?
תודה רבה.
Here. Bevakasha. We're gonna take a look at this mission for a second, and then we're gonna go home, or we're gonna stay home. Okay. It's interesting. On Zoom, you can get much more done, huh? We got through three missions today. If they're doing that, you get to connect to Torah on a deeper level.